Welcome to the Manuchehri podcast. Over the last 30 years, it has been my joy to assist humanity in aligning with their magnificence so they may heal, discover their natural gifts, and communicate with loved ones living on the other side. May you also experience delight while we dance in the powerful, intuitive world of energy. Let's get going. Hello, and welcome to my podcast. Before we get to the phone lines, different than radio, if you've been listening to me for years, I used to produce a live radio show once a week, and now I do podcast. But the beautiful thing is, if you go to energyintuitive.com, you can leave a voicemail message or you ask a question and I answer it here for you on the podcast. And typically before I go to those lines and listen to lovely people all over the world, I talk about something. And so today is actually January 20th is when I'm recording this, obviously 2024, close to Valentine's Day. So I want to talk about love. And I want to talk about love in a way that maybe you don't use the vibration of love, but love is the most transformative energy that has ever existed in the cosmos. So even though you and I live on planet Earth, one of the lowest vibrational realities in all of the multi-universes. So we now know, because modern science proved what spirituality has always insisted, that there are many, many, many universes. And of course, modern science hasn't proved this other part, but we aren't the only beings in the universes either. It's really a fascinating, gorgeous, multisensory worlds out there. So love transforms any reality, any situation, anything that's going on in your life, but it has to be authentic. Just like real forgiveness needs to be authentic. And I always believe, because the majority of the people who are attracted to me are older souls, I always believe that the soul or the person who wants to forgive someone else about something heinous that happened in their life, or that's their perception of it, they first need to forgive themselves. And I know that sounds weird, even if something happened to you as a child. Old souls, because they've lived so many lifetimes, they've had so many experiences, and they know so much, they tend to always blame themselves first and foremost, no matter what the circumstances are. That's why old souls sometimes stay in long-term relationships that aren't healthy, or they work for people for a long time that aren't good to them. They feel very devoted. They have this beautiful devotion. But of course, the devotion should always be first and foremost to oneself. So in order to really forgive another person authentically, you have to forgive yourself first, even if your logical mind thinks that's the most ridiculous thing you've ever heard of. And when you're on track, when you're aligned with your intuition, your logical mind will always think that these ideas are crazy, but they're not. And your logical mind is a logical tool. Forgiveness, love, intuition, consciousness is not logical. It makes no sense to the brain. So when your brain doesn't understand what you're about to do, but you're going to do something, you're on the right track. It's actually a good thing. So love is also this incredible transformative energy. And if there's something in your life you want to change and you don't like it, then the next best thing is to fall in love with it. And I mean authentically fall in love with it. And I know your brain's going, or some of your brains, I can't do that. That's never going to happen. I can't do it. But what if you tried? I wish people would fall in love with their body parts that they don't like, because they will transform. They will find an exercise that makes the muscle stronger so that the body part looks more delicious to them. And they'll have the motivation to do the exercise. So that's where you could start, is maybe find a place on your body that you don't hate. And most humans loathe almost everything about themselves. Emotionally speaking, they do. But pick a body part to practice on that isn't something that you dislike intensively, and start to fall in love with it. If you feel like you can't, start to look up that body part in modern science to find out all the incredible things that it can do and does do for you every single day, because that's going to help you love it. But I promise you, you can find things to fall in love with that you don't like. I promise you, you just have to start. You just have to start the energy in that place. And then you will, because love is what everything is made out of. Love is what we manifest from. It's what projects our expansion into multisensory realms. It's what connects us to multisensory realities and our loved ones that live beyond the veil. So try it out. Try falling in love with yourself. And when it comes to forgiving yourself, just say to yourself when there's a situation, of course, your logical mind is saying, oh my gosh, I did nothing wrong, which could be true. I'm not blaming anyone. I'm just stating a fact that older souls tend to take responsibility for everything, even world events that have nothing to do with them, because they've lived so long and in so many scenarios, they actually do know solutions. And so they feel guilty when solutions aren't brought up to the awareness of mankind or aren't activated within mankind. But you have to remember, we also live in this beautiful reality called Earth with many, many young souls. And we were young souls too once. And so there's nothing wrong with young souls. They are doing what they are desiring to do, to learn compassion and to evolve. And older souls are learning self-compassion. So here's what I do when I have felt betrayed, or someone's been mean to me, or something like that. It's usually something in the family. And I want to forgive them or something of that nature. I will just say, honey, I love you so much. And I'm talking to myself. I'll say it out loud initially. I love you so much. I'm so sorry this hurt you. And I forgive you, first and foremost, for not staying in the alignment that you deserve and that you desire. So it's that kind of forgiveness that actually kind of melts the frozen, energy of betrayal or broken heart or whatever the situation is. And then you can have feelings of forgiveness for others after you've done it for a little while. It's not just a one and done thing. It could take months. It could take years. It doesn't matter. Chronological time actually doesn't exist, and the universe doesn't look at it. It's not in a hurry. It's just here to help us understand how to navigate a human reality, which is better navigated through intuition and a little bit of logic, but not a ton of logic and a little bit of intuition. It's the opposite. A lot of intuition and a little bit of logic. Okay, I hope that's helpful. And we're going to now go to the phone lines.
Hi, Marie. My name is Nicole, and I'm calling from Madrid, Spain. Although I am a U.S. citizen, I've been living here for most of my life. I'd really appreciate your vision on what I am perceiving as a kind of blockage of some sort, a sense and feeling of resistance, huge resistance that I am experiencing in relation to, let's say, starting a new chapter, professional chapter, in which I plan to teach all sorts of woo-woo subjects, kind of like a one-person run Hogwarts. And I have learned, I have training, I have done all sorts of things throughout my life. It's my passion. I love this, and I really love teaching. But when I consider doing this, actually, it's just kind of like freezes. And it's, I don't know, I guess what I'm feeling is fear, but I'm not exactly sure about what. There is a part of me that really fears what it will take, to get my stuff out there, the how to get it out there, And although I know enough by now to not focus on that, it just keeps coming up. I've wondered if there's a past life issue involved in this. Don't know. I've been doing self-love and all the stuff that you share and teach. So I'd really appreciate some insight on this because I want to start working again. Thank you very much. I love your work. You have been a life changer. The words embrace your uniqueness and follow your joy are my mottos in life. Thank you.
Okay, Nicole. So actually, remember, fear is the ego. So it's not even real, as you pointed out. It's an illusion. But I do think you are afraid of one thing. I think you're afraid of being seen. I think you're afraid of being adored. I think you're afraid of being, cherished. There are people now on earth who really admire those who work in the mystical realm. And we have careers now out of it. That's why you're looking to change your job. One of the reasons too, because it exists within the earth realm now. So I don't think you're doing a great job in your self-love, by the way. I'm sorry. But self-love is an emotion. It's a feeling. Lately, I've been describing it. Charles is in my office right now where I'm recording. So if he starts to bark, he's got a loud bark. Hopefully he won't. He seems to be crashed on the floor. I've been using this example of self-love recently with clients. I mean, as everybody knows, I walk my dog, a couple times a day, unless it's 20 degrees in Seattle, 35. Sometimes I'm like, just one walk then for like 30 minutes. But he walks in front of me. He's a big, strong dog. And so I have this view of him as he's walking. It's his backside and his tail flips up. And so I can see, his anus. He has testicles. I can see those bouncing around as he walks. And he's got covered in this creamy, curly hair. I think it's one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen in my life. I love looking at his backside when I'm walking. So it's that kind of feeling. When you have a feeling, it doesn't have to be about Charles's butt and his testicles, but there's things in your life I know that you love, so deeply that are just so beautiful. They're breathtaking for you. Love and the feeling of it is unique, and everyone has individualized things that spark that energy within them. And once you have that spark, that's a reminder to you of what it feels like when you love yourself. So when I'm there adoring his backside, and I'm also outside, I love nature. I'm all nice and warm and whatever huge parka I'm wearing these days, and got a lovely cup of tea, which I also love tea. And I'll ask myself, do I love myself as much as I love this view? And usually the answer is no. And I'll go, okay, I'm gonna, take that energy in my body that I'm having for Charles right now and give it to me. That's how I want you to start practicing it. And please don't think about the how, where, when, or why. That is a game killer. You will not understand how it could possibly work. I'll tell you an interesting story in just a moment. So the logical mind is always trying to figure stuff out. I don't recommend that. If you've got something in your life that's not moving forward, it's because you're trying to use, and I'm speaking to everybody right now who's listening on the podcast, that means you're trying to use your logical mind, and it's really not recommended to use the logical mind. Years ago, when I first started my practice, I was also getting a divorce at the same time, because I could finally, when my visions opened and I began to see the world differently in layers and with more consciousness, I could see my marriage, something I worked very hard at maintaining for 21 years actually. And I could see it authentically, and I went, oh, yeah, there's nothing I can do to fix this. It's not going to change. It's not going to. And so I was able to leave, which was very rewarding for me on more levels than I could possibly share. And so I'm getting a divorce, and the judge, because we're both suing for full custody, I won't go into that story, it's complicated. And the judge ordered me back to the hospital full time. My practice was building, and I was working on call at the hospital. And the judge said, you're not making enough money to pay for, a family of 4 and the mortgage and all of that. So I was telling my clients that I'm not going to be able to see you, or I don't know when I'm going to be able to see you because I have to go back to the hospital full time. And one of my clients that I was seeing at the time was um, an osteopath, a physician. And she said to me, I have a clinic and I've had many energy workers work in my clinic. Why don't you just come work for me and you'll make probably more money than you would as a nurse? I'm like, okay, great. So I didn't even tell the judge. I just started working for her. And it's true, I made more money than I would have working full time as a nurse. And she even wrote me a lovely letter, praising my work and everything like that. So I could have never figured that out with my logical mind. That would have never come into my consciousness. So when people are always looking for, how is this going to happen? When is it going to happen? Where is it? They are pushing it away. They're making it more difficult and challenging to actually manifest. You have to really let go and allow the universe to show you the way. So you have to feel confident and happy that what you want, even if you don't completely understand it, is already here. That's your practice, along with feeling that you're as adorable as the backside as Charles. Okay, on to the next person.
Hi, Marie. My name is Elena from Fort Worth, Texas. I have two questions that I think would be interesting to a lot of people. One is you speak about this flame that the old souls have. And from my understanding, you're referring to the kundalini energy. And if you could just speak more with regard to what exactly is it, why do the old souls have access to it, and anything else you'd like to share about the nature of it and the purpose of it. And my second question is, as everyone is well aware, we're living in unprecedented times with things changing rapidly and a very chaotic period in humanity's history. And they're, as such, very different, extreme and radical opinions being expressed about what is happening and where it's leading us. And I just wanted to know what your personal opinion with respect to that is. I mean, I've heard everything from, we're being gradually corralled into a totalitarian society, so to speak, to, we're evolving into the fifth dimension. And I just was really curious about how you view the changes that are taking place, and more importantly, where do you see, let's stay home and just say, where do you see American society in the next, 50 years or so, or even in the next 10 years? Thank you so much. Congratulations on your new podcast. It's always it was always great news to have another way to connect with you. Thank you for all you do. Love you much. Bye.
Thank you, Elena. And those are 3 questions, but I happen to like all 3 of them. Minus, not putting politics into the genre. Sometimes spiritualists don't talk about political things because we actually have a very different vision than most of humanity. And this is such a, touchy topic for most human beings. But I'm still going to approach it from a way that I'm visualizing it. But first, I'm going to talk to because these are really interesting. Kundalini is very different than the flame. Those are 2 different things. So older souls, probably everybody has a flame inside their body, younger and older, but older souls, their flame is huge. That's why they're considered light workers, because they've just witnessed so much. So older souls, and I'm not sure when in the soul's trajectory we flip from learning compassion for others, and from learning, and then learning compassion for ourselves. So all old souls are learning self-compassion, and younger souls are learning compassion. But I don't know where, does it happen somewhere in the middle soul group where you have to start to practice self-compassion? On Earth currently, we have a lot of old souls that have not put any energy or very, very little into self-compassion. And that's what creates mastery. When you have compassion for yourself authentically, that's when you really move into mastery. So there's this beautiful purple flame. It's so white, but it's really purple. It's kind of a white purple that goes from the pelvic floor, if you will, all the way through the head and to the top of the crown. And older souls have this awareness that other souls haven't had, at least in the physical realm, or most likely other realms too as well. And so when older souls are in alignment, that means they love themselves authentically. They cherish and honor who they are. They speak their truth, which is interesting because everything you said about the current situation on earth has nothing to do with my truth, by the way, which I'm happy to share in a little bit. And so their flame enlightens. And that also means that when older souls are authentically happy, when they're really in joy. So it's imperative, and that's part of, the self-love, and self-compassion is checking. People say to me all the time, they're like, oh, you change up your career often. And I don't do it often, really. It may seem like it because when I'm ready, I just flip it. Like when I finally left the radio show, I went to podcast because there were some aspects of radio I wasn't having fun with anymore. I didn't really like commercials and interruptions and things of that nature, although we may end up having commercials here on the podcast at some point. But it was different. I wanted to just be able to teach more. And so I became aware of that. It just took me a little while to be able to figure out how I could still listen to people's questions without having a live radio show. So it's imperative that for everyone, but in particular for the older soul, to be super aware of what brings them personal joy and notice when their joy is lacking so that they can keep their flame burning. So when the flame is burning within the older soul, that's how they actually teach humanity to expand. It's through personal joy. That's why it's so imperative when people are making decisions about what's next in their life, like career-wise, to have the vibration that it's to serve or to help other people is not authentic. It's your personal joy first that needs to come into play. Like one of my personal joys about doing energy work and mediumship and having consciousness is I love to hear, see, and feel the multisensory world. It brings me incredible joy. I like to be enlightened. I like to see their loved ones that live beyond the veil. I love to hear what they have to say. I love to communicate that. But of service isn't the first thing that comes across for me, yet I get to be of service in ways that I never could have imagined. So that's what helps keep the flame. You have to be very clear. That means you have to really dive down into yourself and discover what makes you personally happy. Yeah, believe it or not, just like when I became a nurse, it really wasn't to nurse the sick. That wasn't my driving force. I love science. I love the technical part of nursing. I love putting in IVs and taking out sutures and activating ports. I loved all of that. I love the hustle bustle of the hospital. I loved walking all day long. And I am a natural nurturer. I'm an older soul. So I already have that down. And old souls don't need to focus on service. They need to focus on their personal joy, and then they will be of service in a way that is rewarding for them too, not just humanity, but also for themselves. Okay, so that's one. Kundalini is a completely different energy. It does have a little bit of an aspect to it. So Kundalini, very few people run it in their body. It's highly recommended, especially if you are an energy healer or a psychic. You need this energy that doesn't come from Earth. It comes from outside of Earth. And it accesses the front of the second chakra. So it moves into the lower abdominal area when it enters. It then moves through the body into the back. And it moves up the spine in a figure 8 electric blue light. Then it enters into the occiput, so that little bump on the back of your head, and activates psychic sight. And Kundalini is about joy, which it enters the second chakra area, which that emotional component for that chakra is joy. It's normal to be in joy. It's normal, but obviously we're not there yet in the human realm in a consistent manner. And so that's Kundalini. And Kundalini, it has a sexual quality to it. It's kind of orgasmic. Some people open up their Kundalini maybe through some incredible orgasmic sex for the first time. But you can also be looking at a gorgeous tree. And if you're running Kundalini, you're going to feel warmth or movement in your loins, if you will, which is normal. You don't have to scream, like we would maybe if you were engaged in intimacy. But it's normal to move energy in the lower half and the reproductive areas of our body. It's actually normal to feel orgasmic when you look at a waterfall. or the face of anything that you think is precious. So that's what that is. And then on to the trickier topic. I don't think what's happening around the world, but let's just focus on the US, is new. So I believe that we've had many, many people on the planet who have, whether they've been raised that way, or there's been communities that felt that way, or educational systems, but we have a lot of Americans, and we know this is happening throughout the world, who have felt the way that it's being portrayed now out in society. This is not new. They just didn't wake up one morning and go, oh, I don't like certain people now. This is not new. And I was raised to believe this as a very young child. My mother, not completely present these days. I mean, she's still in her physical form, but she's a little confused, which is making our relationship a million times better, quite frankly. But my mother has always been aware. And so things like racism and misogyny and homophobia and all of that have been very much alive throughout the United States in certain areas and certain people. But it was hidden. People wouldn't talk about it openly. They wouldn't share it. They wouldn't express it. And these are learned behaviors. Babies are not born feeling those types of topics at all. Babies are born feeling love and expansion. They come straight from heaven. So these are things that have been in our culture and our society from the very beginning of documented times, let's say. And they've been taught and retaught and taught and retaught. I mean, just look at all the Confederate statues that we're now taking down that have been up all this time. I mean, that's appalling, in my opinion. That's appalling. So it's not nothing new. What's happened though, because we were, some people were given permission by certain leadership to express their beliefs that they have, which are all mind-made. These are not authentic beliefs. If people were to let go of their mind and recognize that these types of beliefs towards anyone are not healthy, but that's okay. Like everybody's figuring it out. But now it's public. So people are shocked. They think this is a surprise. They think that this has never happened before. But you can just ask people of color, of any shade of color, and they will tell you horrific stories. Just like if you ask women if they have ever faced any form of misogyny, now that we've had the Me Too movement, and there's some clarification of even what that means, every woman will tell you yes. Even 5 years ago, I was maybe a little bit longer, I was in a grocery store. And I typically, I wear a lot of yoga clothes because, they're in fashion now and they feel great. And I typically tie a jacket around my waist when I'm in public, just because I want everyone looking at my body who maybe doesn't have the same thoughts that I want them to have about my body. And it's, I don't have to do that, but that's a choice I make. So I had my jacket tied around my waist and I'm in the grocery store and there's another person, we're, going in opposite directions down an aisle. And this gentleman who was maybe my age turned to me and told me my backside and used an animal name about it, complimented me. I was so shocked. I'm like, what? And then he repeated again. And now I would respond much differently. I would have told him a whole bunch of other things like, you're not allowed to talk to women that way. And that's disrespectful and it's unkind. So it's just becoming obvious, all this stuff that's been hidden, but affecting people, women and, all kinds of people throughout the world. It's now becoming obvious. And that's when healing takes place, because we can't fix it or re-educate or even recognize there's a problem if we're not recognizing that it's a problem. So we're now recognizing it's a problem. And I know you're talking about other things like war too, and wars are happening all the time around the world and have been forever. However, the earth is at the highest vibration that she has ever been. Ever, 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 ever been. So we live closer than we ever have, and we are actually more peaceful than we've ever been on the planet. So that's why things are moving towards vibrational shift, because now people, when they tell you how they feel about something, because they feel that they have the safety to do so, are going to hear different things. Like some people don't appreciate some of the ways that people feel or believe about others. And I think this is all important because we obviously need to re-educate many Americans at some point down the road. So what's happening is a blessing, even though I know nobody would say that, or very few people, but it is, so that we can authentically change and grow and expand. Those are my thoughts on it. Okay, next person.
Hello, Marie. This is Anita in Texas. We really appreciate you doing this podcast for us. It's really helpful. My question is, can you do a mediumship reading for me? I have a lot of people across the veil, but I wanted to see if any of them had any messages for me that you can pick up on. Thank you.
You're welcome, Anita. You do have a lot of people on the other side. Oh, and they love you. You're different than many people in your family. And I mean that in a good way. I think being different is a good thing personally. And they're just clapping and cheering for you, a whole bunch of them. And then there's one woman who kind of jumps out at me. She could be a grandmother or a great grandmother. Her hair is gray. It's got some curl to it, like not curlier than mine, definitely shorter than mine. And she looks really good. Like, she's got beautiful skin. You guys must have gorgeous skin in your family. She is just thanking you from the bottom of her heart for your uniqueness and your independence and how much you're teaching the family. She says you're a great teacher for the family. And she loves you to pieces. She just kissed you all over your face. So I don't have you to go back and forth with. So yeah, but there's a lot. There's probably about 15 people standing around you, kind of in a half circle, clapping for you. And they're very proud of you. They thank you very much for bringing the consciousness that you're bringing to the family, and possibly even to the other people in your life, like friends or your community. They truly appreciate how easily you understand the multisensory world and how you share it with such eloquent light. Those are their words, and I like them. Okay, I hope that's helpful. I hope that makes sense. Thank you.
Hi, Marie. This is Sharon from Northern California. And I'd like to know what is the next step in my business as far as my energy healing for my clients, for myself, and the expansion of my practice for my future and the future of my community. Thank you.
Okay, so as I said before, Sharon, I want you to focus on your joy. So don't get focused on the community. Don't get focused on your clients. I want you to focus on your joy. So when you're doing your energy work or you're thinking about it, I want you to focus on what brings you personal happiness. And this is going to take you a little while because you're still part of that, thought that I need to be of service and I need to make this happen so we can change. When I first started to see energy in the hospital, the thought that came to me is, okay, great. I'm just going to teach all of this to the nurses. And of course, we already have Healing Touch, which is a devoted modality to hospitals around the world. And they do amazing jobs, amazing work. But that's what I thought. I'm like, okay, I'm just going to teach everybody. Well, people didn't want to do it and they weren't interested in it. And so I finally realized eventually I need to leave the hospital so that I can be my own independent voice and movement of energy and not be corralled by certain restrictions. So I'm not saying you're corralled by certain restrictions, but I am seeing that you are very focused on the outer, how it's going to outer effect, and then this needs to happen and we have to have this happen. Remember, the earth is a place of contractual learning for a reason. It was created to be this way. There's nothing wrong with earth. Nothing. In fact, when it starts to, from every vibrational level look like heaven, it's probably going to disappear because we won't need it. So many times when souls are in non-physical realities, trying to learn things like unconditional love or power, self-compassion, they don't have the motivation that we have on earth because you don't need to eat, you don't need money. Partnership isn't something that many souls actually feel that they have to have. Because they don't feel lonely. You feel energy, you feel everything. So you feel very much alive. And so humans who are kind of stuck in this old paradigm, I think it's a very old paradigm now, where we have to fix earth and we need to all be of service. All of that will happen if you're in your personal joy. So Sharon, if you can stick to your personal joy and discover what it is and have fun with it, then and only then will things expand for you exponentially. Okay. All right. Okay. I'm going to give a little example. I think it was a couple years ago. I told my staff, and when it came to my private sessions, and I think I was seeing 3 a day. I don't know how many days a week it was. I used to originally see 25 people a week, and I did that for probably a decade. And then I started going, reducing my schedule a little bit as I taught and wrote and did other things. And a couple years ago, I just wasn't having fun overall with clients. It's not the clients, it was just me. I wasn't having fun. These are the things you have to pay attention to. And so I asked my assistants, because I book out pretty far in advance typically, to, if I had a cancellation, don't fill it, because I'm not having fun. And so I know what that means. There's something else for me to do. There's another way for me to experience this. And I want to do this for the rest of my life, to the best of my ability. And so I know that I need to pay attention to when I'm not having fun. So my assistants were great. And I started seeing only 3 people a week, because when you book out far, people cancel, but we always maintain a cancellation list. And I was asking them not to fill it at the time. And then something happened to me, because I took the break, because I listened to myself, because I honored my feelings and I didn't feel bad, which is another thing that old souls do. Like, if you have something that you do in the world that you do it well, and then you decide not to do it anymore, some old souls feel guilty. I did not feel guilty. I was having fun. I rested. I relaxed. I don't know the reason why. I don't care why. I do my best not to look for the how, what, where, when, or why. And then all of a sudden, something started to happen in the few sessions that I was having per week. This interesting box connected to my right-hand side appeared. And I kind of dive into the box, and it gives me a whole bunch of information. It changes my energy. It allows me to channel better, if you will. I mean, that's the only way I can describe it, but it feels amazing. So I started to allow my assistants to fill my schedule back to 3 people. No, I think it's 2 people. Excuse me, 2 people 3 times a week. I see 6 now. And I'm having so much fun. It's just a joy for me. So it's important to follow your personal joy and not take care of the community. That happens if you're in joy, and only when you're in joy. Okay. Next person.
Hi, Marie. My name is Lisa from New Jersey. I'm a little nervous, actually, to leave this voicemail message. I've wanted to call on your radio show for quite some time, but I haven't had the courage. Anyway, I've taken a couple of your courses, and I really enjoyed them. I've also read your book on energy healing and found that to be very helpful. I wanted to just first say thank you for all that you do. My question is about my dream job. I'm a healer at heart, but I'm not sure how to turn my gifts into a career. I've taken a course in life coaching, Akashic record reading, energy medicine, and art therapy. I'm an artist. I love to paint, and I feel most alive when painting. But I guess my question is, how can I turn my passions into a purpose and help people? I think deep down, I really want to help other people, and I think that would be the most fulfilling thing I could do. And I've been searching for this answer for quite some time, so I look forward to hearing your thoughts. Thank you.
Okay, Lisa, thanks for taking classes and reading the book. And that was a joy for me, all of those things, all of those things. So we're back to this topic again. When you talked about the art, you lit up. So remember, what brings you most joy, which is not a mental activity. You have to get out of your head. I'm sure you know this from every class I teach. You have to get in the lower half of your body. You have to feel your loins, so to speak. The second chakra, not only does the emotion joy vibrate in that vortex when we're in alignment with the second chakra, which governs reproductive organs, kidneys, adrenal glands, lower back, the appendix, and the bladder. But it's the only chakra that also governs certain aspects of the human life, like career, intimate partnership, close personal friends, creativity, and wealth. So that's why I call it in my book, Intuitive Self-Healing, the juicy chakra, because it's juicy. So your job is just to follow what brings you joy. I wouldn't take another class unless it made you go, ah, I don't read a book. I don't care how many people recommend it to me. I don't care who the author is unless it brings me joy. I don't. and I like to read books. So I'm very, I don't want to spend my time doing anything that's out of alignment with the vibration of joy. So art therapy sounds great, where you can use all of these things, the Akashic records, energy healing through art therapy. And discovering one's joy is our purpose. That is our purpose. Purpose is through the vibration of joy, which is not a mind-made phenomenon. It's an actual experience. I didn't even know what energy medicine was, but I prayed every morning in my bathroom at 7, probably 6:30 in the morning before I got to the hospital, while I'm wearing my scrubs. And in the mirror, I would say, I'm willing to do whatever it takes to discover my passion. And I think that's one of the reasons why I opened up to my psychic gifts, but I was also doing a job that brought me enormous joy, until all of a sudden I started to feel the reduction in the joy. And so I knew I needed to find a different career. So I think you're on the right track. I just think you're missing this very important component, that it will feel joyful. And then you follow the joy. Don't figure out how, when, where, or why. Just start following it. Continue to do things that bring you joy. Practice that in other areas of your life too. It needs to be practiced all the time, because we have so many human beings on earth doing the complete opposite, like maybe 7.8 billion souls, unless children who are allowed to be free, then they definitely are in their joy. My grandkids, when they come here, they're a rowdy, loud bunch. They are super fun. They make forts either in the pantry or the closet under the stairs. And of course I let them. And that forts means that they bring all the pillows in, all the blankets. If they make it in the closet under the stairs, they take a bunch of food out of the pantry and they build it up. And their parents, are exhausted by the time the kids leave. We all are, actually. And so they hadn't always been helping me put everything away, which that was the part that wasn't making me very happy about it. But now the parents are helping me, my children, which is lovely. But we let the kids be free. They yell and scream and they run around and, they make forts, and that's the feeling of joy. It's freedom. And so that's where I want you to start putting your energy. Go swing on a swing for like 30 minutes and bring back that childhood joy to you, so that you can identify it as you allow yourself to be your authentic, magnificent self. All right, next person.
Hi, Marie. Oh my God, you are an inspiration. I just love listening to you and learning from you. I call from Denmark, and my question for you is that I'm writing a book about spirituality and science, and I've decided to include some difficult traumas experienced as a child in it. And so it will also bring forth some painful issues, but I really came to a point where I can forgive. But my fear is that, yes, that when the book comes out, that it will create, that some people will be hurt or angry, and it's not really my intent. My intent is to show what I believe is the most important of all, and I think that's forgiveness and love. And so if you have anything to offer or help me with in this aspect, I would be very grateful. And thank you for being in this world. It's so much fun with you in it.
Thank you, Paula. I love being in this world too. I really do. I love Earth so much. So congratulations on writing a book. I think that's great. You may not like what I'm about to say. I don't really care about how it would affect other people. You get to write about your own experience. When something's happened to you, it's about you, and you get to write it from your own perception. But if it's going to lower the vibration, it's not going to be as effective as you want it to be. So like, for example, I could literally write a spy novel about my marriage. I'm not going to. It was very complicated and super difficult. But the part that I find most interesting is how the universe sees that marriage. I learned a lot from that. One of the things that I wanted to work on as a soul, and I'm continuing to work on as a soul, is to embrace my personal power. You know, I have a history. You know, we're always working on our previous lifetimes, always. We're not even working on this particular lifetime. We're working on previous lifetimes. So it's a thing in my previous lifetimes where I've given my power away, and I can still do it today. The stakes are different. The situations are different. And in that marriage, I had to learn to embrace my power. And once I did, then I knew what I needed to do, which was to leave. But I asked the universe, because I was so tired of being angry and feeling betrayed and hurt, you know, and of course, being around my kids used to make me even feel some aspect of that, just because, you know, we spent a lot of time together, all 5 of us. So I said to the universe, this is what I want you to do before you finish this book. I want you to ask this question to the universe about each one of those events that you think that you're going to write about, because I think it needs to be written very, very, very differently. Because I think even saying I could write a spy novel about my marriage gives a lot of information about it. That's, you know, it gives some clarity without going into the detail where we lower the frequency or blame others, because souls come together to help each other grow. You know, that this world was created to be contractual so that humanity, or when our soul comes into a human place, that we actually are more driven to actually do the work that's from a previous lifetime. And we pick our parents for really, really good reasons. So this is what the universe showed me when I said, please show me the beauty in that marriage. Because I was tired of looking at it from, you know, all the words I just said. And they showed me this picture. And I think this is the most important part of the whole thing. They show me this picture of all 5 of us. That means our 3 daughters and their dad and me in our MPV minivan. And so our kids were probably like, I don't know, 6, 8, and 10, or maybe 5, 7, and 9, or somewhere. They were young. They were young kids. They were not teenagers yet. And the universe shows us all laughing our heads off. And we did. We laughed our heads off for probably 8 years, which is a lot. That's a lot of laughter. It's a lot of laughter. And that's what the universe wants me to focus on, not anything else. Because of course I've had therapy and, you know, all of those things. And I actually learned what I needed to learn in that relationship is to own my power, which has also allowed me to be more successful in my career path. So there's more to the story. And so I think blaming, if that's what's going to be happening in the book, which I agree with what you said, that you've done some significant forgiving, but have you found the beauty? Because I don't think we should talk about it or share about these low vibrational things until we have found the beauty, because then we are speaking from a higher place of consciousness that's telling the truth about what we really wanted to learn as an individual soul. And I really wanted to learn personal power. And most souls, when they come to Earth, the parts that we bring, they've already tried to learn it in non-physical realities and they weren't able to. And so when we ask the universe, I want to learn this, this, and this before we incarnate. And the universe goes, okay, and I'm going to surprise you. I'm going to surprise you. That we have these contractual experiences. That means that they're not what we hoped they would be, so that we can learn what we need to learn. So that's the blessing. That's the blessing. That's the beautiful blessing. That's the gorgeous blessing. That's the beautiful, stunning, gorgeous blessing that is the truth. So I wouldn't finish that book until you figure that out and make sure that that's what you write from, because that would be more authentic and more highly divinely spiritual. But these are my ideas. You can do whatever you want, because free will is the strongest law in all of the universes. Okay, on to the next person.
Hi, Marie. My name is Catherine. I live in New York, and I'm calling to ask if I should leave my job. The last couple of years have been really transformational for me, and I've kind of been undergoing my own spiritual awakening and learning how to speak my truth after many, many years of having a blocked throat chakra amongst many other blockages. And as I've kind of cracked open my own life and gotten back in touch with my own intuitive abilities, the universe has really met me with some surprising new beginnings that have brought me just more joy than I could have imagined for myself. And I find myself grateful every single day I've gone back to school. I'm in the process of writing a book. And I just kind of am experiencing for the first time, probably since I was a kid, this like full body knowing that this is what I'm supposed to be doing with my life. I'm on the right path. It's the one that I'm meant to walk. When I focus my energy on this, I find myself just like totally filled up and overflowing and a little bit exhausted, but not in a bad way, more like I've done a really good workout and I'm going to sleep well kind of way. And the big but is that I'm still working my full-time job, which affords me all the practical aspects of living in a super expensive city. And I really don't have much in the way of savings right now. And I've tried to set all kinds of boundaries with my job, and all things considered, it's a great job. My boss is really reasonable. The people are lovely. It's just totally misaligned with what I know I'm supposed to be doing. And because of that, I'm finding myself having a really visceral reaction to it and being frustrated and bitter and depleted and all of the things. So I know what I want to do, and I know what I believe is really necessary to birth this creative project and tell this story that is just like coming out of me whether I want it to or not. But I'm struggling to reconcile that with the practical parts of existing as a human in this world and, not wanting to be short-sighted or put myself in a compromising situation. And at the same time, really wanting to honor my purpose and my calling. So thank you so much. I would be grateful for any intuitive guidance that you have for me, and have a great day.
Thank you. I'm so happy that you're so excited and so impassioned. I'm thrilled for you. Congratulations, Catherine. That's lovely. How about working just a little bit less? Since you have a boss that is supportive, which I think is great. I actually met someone who's working on creating his career where he helps navigate corporations to align with their employees to, of course, work within their organization, but also to support their dreams, which I think is magnificent. That's the first thing I ask anyone that I'm going to hire is, so what are your dreams? Because it may not be that they want to work forever for me as an assistant or IT person or whatnot. And I always like to support people in their dreams to the best of my ability and to make sure our dreams are in alignment so that I can be supportive. So I think that's what's next in the human development of work. We already have this thing where people can work from home now, other than some companies that are kind of stubborn who think that that's not a good move. I think it's an excellent move. I think it's what needs to happen for those people who can work from home. I think they should. I think they're more productive. Ask anyone who owns their own business and they work in their home. They are immensely productive. You are. So I think you have a couple choices. One, see if you can work one day less. And so you have an extra day to put towards what it is that you're creating. Or here's the other choice, find a job that's really fun. Like if for some reason my job were to dry up tomorrow, I probably wouldn't go back and work in a hospital just because I would go back to doing energy work most likely. But I love coffee shops, so I probably would become a barista, I'd go work in a nursery because I love plants. So if you can't negotiate the time that you're spending so you can have at least one day to put this energy into what you're manifesting, and I'm just giving you these ideas, things could just magically start to change since you're holding your vibration there, and you want to feel like it's already happened, not how it's going to happen, not when, not where, not how, where, all those words that I repeated. You just want to feel that it's already happened, and then magical things could really take place. But to help with that alignment, just go do some work that hopefully pays you as much as you're making now or close to it, that brings you joy. Again, joy is the answer. So that's what I would recommend are those three things, maybe do a combination of them. And I'm excited for you. Congratulations.
Hi, Marie. Thank you so much for having this platform so we can call in to ask you questions. I'm on a spiritual journey of trying to figure out what my superpowers are here on this earth, in this dimension. I'm just on a spiritual journey now, and I'm just so glad I found you. But there's just so much questions that I have. I guess the main one right now is, how do I tap into my powers, and what do I need to do to figure this out? And also lately I've been really into angel numbers, and I've been trying to see if that's how it's guiding me into my life purpose here on this earth right now. And yeah, I also have endometriosis, and that was what started my journey of self-discovery, of spirituality. But I don't know if that plays a role in any of this. And also wanted to talk about my father who passed away from pancreatic cancer, and I just hope he's doing well, and I miss him so much because he was like literally the core person of our family, and I think of him dearly. So yeah, thank you again for everything that you do, and I'm just so glad I found you, and thank you again.
Oh, you're very welcome, Kathy. And I'm sorry about your dad crossing over. I'm not surprised. He was such a wonderful, beautiful aspect of your life. People who get pancreatic cancer, number one, they typically do want to leave the earth. It's a disease that modern medicine doesn't know how to heal very well. The mortality rate is high. So not everyone passes from it. I have one client that's still on the planet, which makes me very happy. But most people who choose pancreatic cancer do want to leave their body, right? And the main reason why people get pancreatic cancer, if we were to look at it an emotional reason, because I believe all disease is related to repressed emotions, including endometriosis, which we'll talk about in a moment. Usually people who get pancreatic cancer are too nice and too giving, and they compromise too much for others. And so back to, power. They don't own their own power. They're very powerful in their ability to give and love, and they're really unconditional in their love, but maybe they need a few more conditions when it comes to what they need and what they want. So that, and of course, he's fine. Everybody on the other side's fine. He is one of your greatest cheerleaders, but he's figuring himself out. He's taking the advice of the spiritual realm to work on some of his issues that he wasn't willing to work on the other side. So if sometimes you don't feel him, it's just because he's very busy doing something important for himself, which is critical for his evolution. And endometriosis is about repressed anger. So your homework assignment, if you choose to accept it, is to experience temper tantrums. Pretend like you're two, laid on the floor and kick and scream. Scream in the shower, scream with the windows rolled up in your car, so we can get this anger out of your body. That's what creates health issues in the pelvic cavity area, is repressed anger. For women, typically, is repressed anger. So anger is a normal emotion, but especially older souls, they don't want to be angry, and they don't want to, they just want to be nice, which is not healthy. It's healthy to express your anger in healthy ways. So like closing a door and kicking and screaming and yelling is a great way, so that when a moment comes in your life where you need to speak your truth to someone and express your real feelings, you don't have to wait till you're, I'm not saying you do that, by the way. I think you have a significant amount of repressed anger in your pelvis, and I hope that you let it out. Just keep falling in love with yourself, and spirit will keep guiding you in more profound and very loud ways. Just keep falling in love with you. Okay.
Hi, Marie. This is Joanne, and I live in Southern California, Carlsbad. And my question for you is if my guides have any messages for me. And the reason why I'm asking is because I'm currently looking for additional work. I work part-time in a hybrid job, meaning I work part-time remotely and part-time in the office. And it's, altogether less than like 20 hours a week, and I need to be working more. And I guess my question is if my guides feel like I'm headed in the right direction in terms of looking for additional work as a remote administrative assistant. And the reason why I'm looking for a remote is because I would love to be able to spend more time with my granddaughter, who is on the Big Island, and my daughter, of course, and her partner. So anyway, if you have any input, I would love to hear what my guides have to say. And thank you so much for all that you do. You are so appreciated.
Thank you, Joanne. And I want you to spend more time on the Big Island too. It's a gorgeous part of the world. Those of us who live on the West Coast, and we, if we choose to vacation, it's not uncommon that we head to the Hawaiian Islands because it's only like a 4.5 hour flight, so, and then you're in the sun. Couple things. You need to work on resources. If you've been listening to my podcast, I talk a lot about wealth, and you need to shift your relationship with wealth. I'm going to explain it again. And so the explanation is that you need to think of something that authentically brings you joy, like a high vibrational joy. And I want you to take a couple days. I might get some insight into it. We'll see. But your logical brain is used a lot, and joy is not logical. And then when you come up with whatever brings you the most amount of joy, I think it might even be birds, like the sound of birds. Yeah, maybe birds, seeing them, hearing them. I think it brings you joy. So before you ever connect with wealth, that means before you grab a credit card, cash, do a online transaction, before you put your password into the computer to get on your online banking, before you go to the mailbox and pick up financial mail, I want you to think of birds. Hear them, see them in your mind, and then connect with it. So from my perspective, birds raise your vibration. And we don't want to connect with wealth unless our vibration is elevated. Because if you connect with wealth when our vibration is low, then we get a low movement of wealth in our life. When we connect with wealth, which means you don't have to think about money, very few people have the joy is money for them. Our cultures around the world have been raised to be afraid of money and to have negative feelings about money. And then that's why it becomes difficult for a lot of people on the planet where they don't have the freedoms, the financial freedom that they deserve. So you're going to think about birds, you're going to hear them, you're going to feel them, and then you're going to engage with wealth. The guides are happy that you're reevaluating your work, but you need to fall in love with yourself more. Love yourself as much as you love that grandchild so that more of your magnificence can come through, whether that means you connect with, it's just an incredible situation for you, or you do something completely different. That's what I'm recommending. I hope that's helpful.
Hello, Marie. This is Kate. I'm from Nashville. So, how you doing? I'm right now in the middle of what is like a sinus infection, or something's going on with my lungs and my sinuses. It's been going on for quite some time now, and I'm hopeful you might have some insight as to how do I heal this and move on. And I do think maybe there could be some mold in my home. But while I'm sorting that out, I need to really I need to heal my body. So that's it. That's what I'm looking for. Oh, also, any family members or anyone that are trying to reach me? And if so, what are they hoping to say? Okay, thank you.
Okay, I'm only going to answer one because it's time for me to get off the podcast and do other work. So I would definitely get a mold detector just to double check. But if we resolve the emotional component that's related to the illness, then we figure out and attract the solutions that we need to get well. So what creates sinus infections is frustration. And I think you feel frustrated a lot, whether it's about the people in your life or the circumstances of your life, or that's just how you roll. You're going to have to stop reacting in a frustrated way so that your sinuses will begin to heal. Also, if you eat dairy, I would stop. I don't think it's good for you. I think you might have an allergy to dairy. That would include yogurt, not just milk. Dairy's dairy. That's what I would recommend. That you do. And I'm sorry that you've had this going on for a while, but I would have the house checked for mold. I think that's critical. A lot of places around the country don't pay as much of it. In the Northwest, we pay attention to mold. I'm not sure where you are. I can't remember if you said or not. But we pay attention to it because we have high humidity and a lot of wetness, in the state of Washington. So it's something we repair quickly, typically. If people have the resources, of course, we make sure that it's taken care of immediately. But not a lot of places around the rest of the country do that, which is fascinating to me. Okay, everyone, thank you so much for listening to this podcast, for calling in. You can write into energyintuitive.com, not write in, but go to energyintuitive.com, click on the podcast page and leave a voicemail. We will get to you. We have a lot of messages, which I'm thrilled about and happy to answer. It is my way that I joyfully give back to this gorgeous place called Earth. Have a lovely day. Bye-bye.